Hello, my fellow YouTubers. This is Roy back again. Yesterday's video, or the last video that I posted, I went into detail on a enormous amount of information on Ed Leedskalnin's components. And today I get to have fun because I want to show you a quick little video on some of the mechanicals in its workings. I got the pilot relay hooked up, as well as the relay, the driver relay that goes to the bifilar PMHs, which will reverse its poles as the pilot relay engages. It will also engage a couple other things. One is electromagnetic field, and two is a contact for the PMHs to be a driver to move the wheel. Something I didn't mention last night, you may have seen this drawing on the back of what I was describing. This was something that came to me, and I want to explain it real quick. Energy of mass in motion. It's an energy planet. This is the Earth. And the elements itself, that is the mass of the Earth, sets up these grid lines, north, south, east, west, based on its inherent group of elements and in positioning and everything else. And that is just a reaction of the action of the sun. So you have your sun rays coming up, and when it hits our beautiful planet, it aligns itself. It gives it one axis and two momentum for spin. Now, one thing I want to explain on the spin is this would be your equator. I'm calling this Nolan's cross. And basically you're talking about a clockwise spin on the northern hemisphere, a counterclockwise spin on the southern hemisphere of the energy itself. The energy is turning across and gets to the equator. When it gets to the equator, it becomes, I heard of it be called Bosch wall. But basically it's a divider line, and it's very important that when you look into a lot of electrical work through Tesla, Ed Leedskalnin, Heaviside, a couple other, Maxwell, Edison, you will see nature in these things. And so I wanted to show the spin of the energy that's swirling around, and you can use this as a guide in quarters. And there's also a slice down the middle, sort of like a spinal cord on a human being, to where you are creating a scalar situation here, to where you're having two separate sources of energy that is driving energy around it based on its inherent elements. And I'm talking about the periodic table, all the elements that we know of, and also the ones that we could make ourselves on that lower section there. It's going to have its natural process. So very important here to see that there's a ob-shaped mass we call planet, and its energies and how it's driving everything. Very important, and it follows into a lot of the work I work with Ed Leedskalnin. So with no further ado, Here we have the pilot relay, and these are split in the middle here. And what we're doing here is every time a north pole, these are north and that's south. So if you see yellow, it's south. So every time, and this is south pole and this is south pole. It's the way I have them wound, okay? So they're both facing south. So that means when this north is in front of this south, it's going to want to attract. So this will pull, okay? And this north, or this south with south, it's going to repel. So it's going to keep it back. Now, when it's in the back, there's a couple things going on here. One, there's a spring. So I flattened out 1/4-inch copper tubing and made a ribbing out of it, and use it for twofold. One contact, you can see there's a contact right there. I got a nice contact out of these old-fashioned relays. You could buy them now, and they're only about $20-something. And one is the contacts on them are just nice size and beautiful, and you can use these for all sorts of stuff, especially with experimenting. So you have your contacts here. But anyway, you have your contact back here. So this is good. Every time this comes forward, it'll disconnect. Every time it's forward, it'll make the contact. It'll contact this relay. Now this relay is pretty awesome because it'll handle the amperage and voltage for my driver coil. Now this driver coil, right now it's a single wire, and I need to get rid of those. I need to make these a bifilar. And the reason it'll be a bifilar is because when one is making contact, it'll be making this south pole and this north pole. So when this north is pulling up here, it's always pulling. And then this will be south. And then this disconnects, and then the other side makes the contact. When it does that, it'll be making this now north pole. And then this will be like about here where it makes north pole. Now it's pulling the south. So it'll swap its poles. Now, the unique thing about this is there's going to be a double whammy back EMF going on here in a sense, okay? So you're going to have a back EMF. That back EMF, we'll talk about it in another video, but it'll be going into collectors such as this is a capacitor I built out of these containers. And we're going to be collecting charge. We're going to be separating the charges and building pressure up. And we'll get into better capacitors, but for right now, we're gonna start accumulating charge. As the wheel turns, it's just building a high pressure, static pressure by separating the charges. And then there will be a release. That release, like we talked about last night, will go into these glass jars that will be wound with steel wire. Now, why am I going to use iron wire, steel wire? Because the wire itself will have a magnetic field present, and in what we're going to do is have the back of the box on these bolts have two coils similar to this, a little bigger on the back side here. So when these coils are activated based on the pilot relay on those contacts, there will be a magnetic charge coming out. And that magnetic charge is going to be going into chains. I got these chains, and we're going to get into a little segment on what these chains are doing with splitting charges, okay? Very important. So we're going to be taking the magnetic field through the chains and coming over to the glass bottle. The glass bottle is gonna have a wrapping along the outside, and also one of these tiny relays. And the relays are going to be more like the magnetic strip relays, where a small magnetic field, which is what this will do, create, and that will make the contact, that will release the capacitance electrostatically down into this tube. Now this tube is, if you go into magnetic current, it says if you were to take a coil and you were to encase the coil. So if this was wrapped with the wire and it was down in here, okay, and I don't want to lose it. And you had the top here with a cap. So, and then you put an iron core in the middle of this. And what you would have is no losses. You would have total encasement. But what you also have is at the center of this core, say if this was at the bottom connected, the center of this cord would be one pole, when the outside casing of here would be the opposite pole. So instead of the poles being down this core, and at the bottom it's the opposite pole, it would not be, it'd be a neutral. And the two poles would be close to each other, one inside the other. And something interesting about that, we'll get into that in another experiment. But for right now, let's go ahead and connect this. I got pretty interesting how this works. Let's connect it. You can hear something clicking. All right, let's turn the wheel. You can see it's the spring in the back. It's making a double clap in the back. You got your pilot relay. There's obviously adjustments that need to be made. And you got your driver relay. And then we're going to set up my coils in here and make a magnetic. We want to collect all the magnetism and send it through the chains. Like a Gatling gun. All right, guys, leave your comments. I love the comments. Keep them coming. If you like what you see, leave a like button. Thank you. Bye.